Hi everybody, I'm Gilad Goldstein and I'm here with Kenra Professional today to show you how to create square layers. Now this is perfect for your clients behind the chair who are looking to maintain their length but get a little bit of a trim or a shape up. It's really great for taking off any dry dead ends from heat damage or anything from color damage. It's just a great classic haircut with a lot of movement and the layers are not ever too choppy. So make sure to get your notebook, grab a mannequin, and follow along, and let's get started. I'm gonna start this haircut by applying my favorite cutting lotion, which is the Kenra Platinum Pearl Detangler. Now, I love using this when I cut hair because it helps to maintain the moisture in the hair, which gives a more even saturation and provides better results. The first step to a really great square layered haircut is getting that nice perimeter cut in. I'm going to start by cutting the length. So beginning in the back, we're just going to trim the ends. So this part is just if you have any sort of dry or damaged ends, you just want to remove them right now and cut a square base into your ends. So take small sections as you work your way around the head and cut off any of those ends that are a little bit fine, they're frayed, and they're really just not doing anything for the hair at this point. While I want to maintain length, we also want to focus on creating healthy hair. So it's important that you're making sure to trim those ends before you start your layers. Another reason I like to layer the hair after cutting the ends is because it gives me a baseline that I know where to work towards. So another reason I like to cut the ends first and then do the layers is because it sets the baseline. This means that I know where my layers have to reach, so I can tell if I'm cutting the layers too short, and it just gives me a better reference to create a nice haircut. For the front, whenever we're cutting the ends, we want to comb the hair away from the eye. Most of us aren't wearing our hair right in front of the eye, so comb the hair away from the eye first. Use your finger so that the hair just kind of wraps around, and then work your comb down to the ends, and now you can trim a square base. So on the other side, just place your finger at the corner of the eye and comb the hair around your finger. That's going to give you a nice base to cut a square perimeter. I like to think of the square layers as a classic trim. So this is great for any of us who are looking to maintain a lot of length in our hair, but get a really fresh, long layered haircut. It's not going to look too choppy or too overlayered, but it's going to give us that nice movement so when we curl the hair, it has a really beautiful style. You can check that the length is even by taking the hair right in the center and combing it straight down. You'll notice either the line is even or it might be a little bit uneven. And if you have to blend it, go ahead and connect and then recomb back onto the sides and make sure to take off the length so that each side is the same. Now that we've cut the ends, we're going to start layering. So the first step is to section out the front from the back. I'm looking for the high point of the head. So what you can do is you can place your comb right onto the back of the head. Where that's lifting off is where the head shape changes direction, and that tells us where the high point is. From that point, I'm taking a vertical parting down to the ear. That's going to section out the front from the back. To get a really clean part, comb the hair in the same direction as the parting, and then take your comb down to part the hair. That's going to make it easier to get a nice straight line. I just clipped the back out of the way because we're going to start in the front. So make sure you get any hair that you're not cutting out of your way before you start. Now we're going to set the guide for the entire haircut. So I'm taking a small piece of hair from the center front, and this is going to determine where my shortest layer is going to begin. So take your small piece of hair, and for this haircut, we want to go about to the last third of the hair strand. So imagine the head in three parts. You have your first third or your top, your second third, your middle, and then your bottom or the final third of the hair. We're going to set the guide for the shortest layer into the second third or the bottom portion. Take your guide and cut. Once your guide is set, now you can create the square layers. We're going to be working on each side, so I'm going to comb the left side down into natural fall. You want to lower the head down because we're going to be lifting the hair up really high. So get the head as low as possible because we're going to be lifting the hair up and square. I'm going to take the first section of hair and we're going to comb the hair all the way up, looking for your guide. And once you found your guide, that's going to be the hair that you cut. Cut a square line at the top. Here's a really easy way to work your way around the head doing the square layers. You're going to take a small piece of hair from what you just cut, get the rest of the hair out of the way, take another small guide, and continue working your way up. So now I'm only cutting the hair that I can control. What's going to happen if I take too much hair is it's going to make it really challenging to get a nice even square layer all the way around. So by subdividing, it lets me take all of this hair and cut in really workable sections. So I'm cutting the last section on the side, holding it straight up, finding my guide, and cutting my square layer. Once the hair is combed out, you'll have a nice long layered shape based on the guideline you set in the front. Now, to ensure that each side is even, I'm taking a very small sliver from the side I just cut. That's going to serve as a guideline as I cut the opposite side. To make sure the sides are even, I'm going to take a small sliver from the left side that we just cut, and then I'll clip the rest of that side out of the way. That guideline is going to help me to create balance in the layers so that each side has the same amount of layers. So we clip that out of the way. And now we can begin cutting the right side. You'll notice that my body is positioned square on the side of the head. And this is intentional because we want to make sure that as we're cutting, we're pulling the hair towards the corners and creating a square shape. So I'm going to again pull that hair up, pulling to the corner. And now I'm looking for my guide. There we go, there's my guide. Once you found it, make your cut. The nice part about taking that hair from the opposite side is that while I have my guide in the front to work from, I also have a small piece of hair from the other side to show me and kind of double check that I'm cutting the right amount of hair. So it's a nice little trick to maintain balance on each side. So once I'm here, I found my guide, checking that I have the guide from the opposite side, and making my cut. So here's the last cut on the sides. We're gonna make our cut. Now we're gonna start cutting the top section. So what you wanna do is take a parting from where the hairline begins to curve and take that towards the back. Section off the top by taking a horizontal parting from where the hairline begins to curve towards the top of the ear. That's your top section. I'm gonna do that on each side. So we're finding where the hairline is beginning to curve and then taking a small parting towards the ear. Now we're gonna take this entire section and I'm pulling it all the way back. Now we need to break this up into workable sections, but essentially we're going to cut off the corner right in the center there and create a square layer. So I'm gonna break this up. We're gonna start on the left side, holding the hair square. So notice that it's being held straight up to the ceiling, and you'll see that because of the head shape, the line begins to curve up. Now that's beautiful, but because we want to get a square layer, we're going to even it out all the way across. So from this point, I'm going to begin cutting square. Remember, take a small piece of hair from what you just cut, and then work your way around. So I'm going to start working my way towards the right side. Again, pulling the hair straight up and connecting my square layers all the way across the head. You can see how breaking up the sections is kind of a theme with me and my small hands, but in general, this is just such a really good way to control the hair and get more precise results. So if you want to master precision cutting, learn how to take smaller sections. Now that we squared off the corners, our front is done. We're gonna move on to the back. For the back, we wanna continue connecting a square layer all the way around, but we wanna be careful to not cut any blunt lines in that back area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take pie-shaped sections, and those sections are gonna look something like this. We wanna work around the head in pie-shaped sections because it is a round shape. But we're gonna use our guide from the front to connect the square layers all the way around. I'm gonna take my first pie-shaped section, and I'm gonna take a small amount of hair from the front side that we just cut. Now we're gonna lift that hair up, looking for that guide from the front. Once you find your guide, go ahead and connect. Make sure to recomb any hair that is kind of falling down, so that you have even tension as you're cutting your square layers. I'm taking a small section from that pie-shaped section we just cut, combing the rest of the hair out of the way, and continuing my way around the back. So as we're working our way around the back, we're cutting an even amount of square layers that radiate from that highest point of the head. This is going to mean that all of the layers are even all the way around, as opposed to going into a U or a V shape. So when you want to create something that maintains a lot of fullness and a lot of the weight in your haircut, this would be a really good option. Sometimes when doing a V cut, I find that it takes away a lot of that density from the sides especially. So for someone who wants to maintain an overall long appearance or just kind of freshen up their long hair, this square layered haircut is going to be really ideal for that client. Now, one thing that you might be noticing is that we're not really cutting a lot of hair off in the back. And again, keep in mind, this is really to kind of freshen up the layers, give a square shape to the haircut, but it's not really about cutting all of the hair off. We want to just freshen up the look. So by cutting these square layers, we're not cutting too much off of that length in the back, so we're maintaining that fullness, but we're also allowing there to be some sort of a shape in the haircut, so when it's styled, it feels fresh and great. There's nothing worse than having ends that are just kind of frayed or frizzy, so this is a good way to take care of any of the old damage you might have from heat styling, or if you bleached your hair and you have a little bit of dryness from that, this is a really good haircut technique to just trim those ends right off and make a fresh start. I think it's even good for guests who are looking to, I don't know, grow your hair out. Since you're not cutting too many layers in the front, you're not over texturizing, so you're just keeping the hair healthy and allowing it to live naturally, but giving it a square shape so it styles really beautifully as well. If you're looking to take off more length, let's say you want to take your hair a little bit shorter, you can apply the same technique, but you're just going to start by cutting your baseline shorter. So today we just trimmed the ends to maintain that length, but let's say you want to do something a little bit more collarbone length, or if you want to go even more to chest, just cut that baseline to the desired length first, and then you can go ahead and do the same exact technique, and you'll get a really fresh square shape in your haircut. Okay, so we're working our way around to the front, and this should be our last section. So again, pulling the hair straight up is 180 degrees, square, looking for that square line, and then connecting to our guide. So that's it for the wet cut of the square layers. It's really just a nice shape up, a good little trim to get off the damage, but giving a really beautiful shape to the haircut. I love using the Kenra blow dry spray whenever I'm looking to achieve heat protection and smoothing, but I also love that it speeds up the blow dry time. I'm also layering some of the Kenra Silkening heat cream just to provide a little bit of extra heat protection and give a nice shine to the finish. So we just blow dried the square layered haircut, and this is what it should look like at this point. You can see there's a lot of nice layers in the hair, but they're long, so they're not super choppy. They give you a soft shape in the haircut, and it's gonna look really great when we curl it or add any sort of body with the blow dry. What we wanna do now is just refine the line that we created. So I'm going to go back in for the haircut, lift the layers up, and just point cut to soften out any of the blunt edges, and that's gonna be it for the square layers. So to do this, we're gonna stand in the back of the head, and I'm taking sections straight up. Now remember, we cut that square line, so you should have that nice line already set in, and I'm just holding my shear almost parallel to the strand and cutting into the line just a bit. The goal is not to remove a ton of weight, it's just to soften out the ends. So I'm gonna take subsections, working my way from front to back, pulling them straight up, and looking for that square line in the layers that we created. And once you've found your line, you can go ahead and just point cut to soften it out. Make sure to keep your shear parallel so you don't take off any length. And just remove a little bit of weight so that the ends are a little bit softer looking. Taking my last subsection, this one I'm gonna do a little bit of a switch up. So we're gonna shift our body to the front. For the last section in front, we're gonna hold the hair straight out of the head, and we're gonna, again, find that line and just cut. Very little, just refining the shape. Now I'm gonna go in and reheat the hair, add in some rollers, and you'll be able to see that big, beautiful blowout set that we can get with these square layers. So we styled out the square layers with a little bit of a blowout, and you can see all of the movement that we created and how these layers show, but they're not too choppy or too heavy. So it's perfect for your clients with long hair who just want to trim, or if you just need a reset and you want a really classic layered haircut, this is the one for you. So make sure to remember, keep all of your square corners straight, cut a nice square shape all the way around the head, and then just a little bit of point cutting to refine the ends, but don't remove too much weight. Thank you so much for joining me for this haircut. If you really liked this haircut as well, make sure to follow Kenra Professional, and I'll see you in the next video.